マリのワールド。
Oh my God.
I know. You're very lucky because you're in New Zealand. And
Sorry. The town. Can I say city or town?
City.
City. Sorry.
No, I loved it. I loved it.
Good.
Because
What a catchy title. That's very interesting. What do you call that? Like muscle memory?
Yeah, I think so.
You're like, okay, now I'm done with uni. Now I can go back to whatever I like to study. I want to ask you more about your experience with learning Japanese.
Okay.
So my third question is that you said you never been to Japan, which means you basically study Japanese by yourself. So how do you study Japanese by yourself?
Well, I think there are all sorts of ways to do it these days. We're very, very lucky because we've got the internet and we've got apps on our phone, and we're able to communicate with other people who are learning languages and also with native speakers if we want to. So very first things I think were online podcasts.
Right.
Podcast.
Remember the program of the podcast?
Oh, it was called Japanese Pod 101.
Japanese Pod 101.
Yeah.
Are they still doing it?
They are still doing it, yeah, I think they are. So other than that, textbooks were my big thing. It sounds so geeky, but I do love a good Japanese textbook. I absolutely love it. So this is my
It's not geeky at all.
I'm glad you think of it that way.
Yeah, like having a good text helps you improve.
And yeah, I mean, all my textbooks, because they don't sell them in the UK.
So how did you get it?
I ordered them online. I ordered them online from Japan, basically.
So it has been shipped all the way from Japan.
Yes, exactly. And I've just had a collection sort of building up, and now I've got a little library at home of the books, which I'm so proud of.
Yeah, you should be. So how many textbooks in total have you got?
Oh gosh, probably about 25, I think, roughly.
5? Say again?
25, I think, maybe more.
25? Seriously?
This is over the course of, about a
You are
decade.
geeky, officially now. In a good way.
Oh wow.
Wow, you can start teaching Japanese because we're gonna talk about later, but actually you passed N2, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, which is quite difficult.
Yes, I mean it's especially the higher levels. It does get very, very tricky, but
about the exam, he's gonna explain later. So just wait.
Yes. And other than that, I suppose the other thing that I was very big on is flashcards as well.
So,
Were
you doing flashcard on the app when I first met you on the bus?
Yeah, on this one. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see that. 新調査 it says. What's the app called?
It's called Anki.
Anki, yeah.
Anki, which I think is Japanese for learning by heart. So, I've got all the words that I know. I've made a flashcard for all of them. So you just, you go through them and then you click it and then, and it tells you what, what the translation is. And through this app, which I'm on all the time, I study, I practice vocabulary, kanji, and grammar points. And the nice thing is with doing the vocabulary, sometimes I'll write it down as well.
Wow!
And honestly, writing it is so much fun. It's so nice.
Can you get it closer so I can see it well?
I hope there's nothing rude on there, but
Okay, let me see what can I read. It says 読み間違える危険水位 on the left on the top upper side 出発時刻 and in the middle 幼稚園児 Wow, my god.
You can read my handwriting.
Of course I can. Yeah, of course. It's very
It's not
neat.
terrible.
No, not at all.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So, among those methods you introduced, which one works best for you, you think?
For me, right now, it's probably flashcards. It sticks into my head better. And obviously the textbooks as well. I mean, other than that, there are lots of apps available at the moment. A really popular one is Duolingo. That's a really popular one.
Yeah, Duolingo is really popular.
Another good website is Memrise, Memrise. That's a good one as well. Some things don't work for some people. Some things aren't effective. You've got to find what works for you.
Because, like you said earlier, you've tried out like 25 textbooks in total?
Use them, but it's 25. Yeah, 25 I reckon.
One good thing about using the app is it's fun and easy and it keeps you entertained.
Yes.
Whereas if you study on textbooks, some people find it a bit boring. It's hard to keep doing it by yourself. Whereas app, there's an introduction and it sticks to your mind.
Yes, and that's the most important thing, really. So it needs to be fun, but it also needs to stick in your mind. There are also some apps out there that connect you with people from around the world.
Is it HelloTalk?
Yes, that's one of them. Another good one is called Slowly. That's a lovely.
Never heard of it. Slowly.
It's a lovely app. You basically write letters to people from around the world. Honestly, it's lovely, and then you send it off, and then you wait 2 or 3 days for it to be delivered, and then they write a reply, and then they send it to you, and then it takes.
How can I describe that? It's like makes me an impression like.
Tegami no yaritori?
Yeah, tegami no yaritori, like pen pal, but the latest version.
Yes.
The 21st century version.
Yes. And then other than that, and then once I got a bit better at it, I started doing things like watching things without subtitles, trying to look at news sites. Newspapers are very difficult, and there's a lot of
Honestly, you are telling me reading would be the hardest in Japanese because we have 3 different letters.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. We are almost halfway through. How are you finding so far?
Yeah, it's very fun. It's nice to talk about something that you enjoy talking about.
Yeah, I can see your excitement, which is quite good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's only 11 a.m. in the UK, so there's still a whole day. Whole day.
Cool. Okay, let's keep going then.
Okay.
So we are talking about all your experience with Japanese. So this is something related to that. How did you find studying Japanese overall?
So, I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, languages, they all work differently, I think. And, no language is exactly the same. And the thing about Japanese is I always found it very logical. So everything, well, what I mean by that is the way that the words, the way that the kanji, the letters are put together, the way that they are combined, it's very, very logical.
You have a really good example for that.
Oh yes, I do. I always use the word. I always use the word jitensha for that. Bicycle. So it looks like.
Wow! Look at that! Great preparation. I'm impressed.
I'm really turning into a teacher here.
I actually sent him a questionnaire earlier. I didn't expect him to prepare this card like flashcard. Look at that. Okay.
It's okay. So I always use this. So this is the word. For anyone watching this who's English, this is the word for bicycle in Japanese. And this is the kanjis. These are the letters 1, 2, 3. But the meanings make perfect sense when you think about it. So this one means self, this one means turn, and this one means vehicle. So a bicycle is a vehicle that you turn yourself. And that made perfect sense to me. A lot of people, honestly, I once told this to a Japanese person, and then they said, I'd never realised that before, because because when you're a native speaker, you don't tend to think about it very much. You just
No, neither did I.
and that's why I think
Yeah, 自転車 you said G is self and 10 is turn and
Yeah.
車 kuruma car means vehicle.
vehicle.
So
Yeah.
self-turning vehicle.
Yeah, because you turn it yourself with the pedals. So
Yeah, that's a great example to explain Japanese in some ways are very logical.
yeah. It just made a lot of sense to me, and I like the fact that in Japanese they're built upon each other. So like with the kanji, they're made out of different components or radicals, and you put them together, and they make sense to me as well.
Are you talking about like hen, for example, sanzui?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Or bushu, I think as they call it. Yeah.
Bushu, you knew that. Of course you passed N2.
The alphabets, the three alphabets, that makes it very interesting as well. I've got a funny memory. I remember when I was first learning it, first learning the alphabets, and then I was sat in chemistry class in college, and then when I was writing in my textbook, in my notebook, I was practicing the letters, so a, I, u, e, o, and kaki, ku, ke, ko, and then when I chemistry.
Just to clarify, you were saying that back in high school, you were actually studying Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. I was practicing it, and then my chemistry teacher came over and she told me off. She said, "That doesn't look like chemistry."
And what did you say? Remember? Do you remember?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think I just very carefully.
So you're like a bit embarrassed and then slowly close the book, or going back to the page.
Then going back to finish after that.
Well, that tells everyone that how serious you were about learning Japanese over chemistry class, which you might find boring.
That's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
I didn't find chemistry very interesting. Japanese was more interesting.
Yeah, chemistry is not my thing either.
I think the only thing in Japanese I'm still not too confident on is probably speaking.
I can imagine how difficult for you to find a language partner where you can learn in person.
Yes, exactly. In person, yes.
Most Japanese people study English inside of Japan. They don't have opportunity to talk to English speakers other than going to language school. If you're not study furthermore, most people go to language school or taking online lesson, Skype lesson.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. But then you're an exception, Mari, because you actually travelled and then you actually went to English-speaking countries, and now you're brilliant. You're pretty much fluent at English. So
well, I don't call I'm very fluent in English, but thank you for the compliment.
I mean it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think you probably did it the best way, which is to just go over and immerse yourself in these different cultures.
Well, about that thing, there's a space for discussion because many people, Japanese people, misunderstood. So here's the misunderstanding. Most of people believe that if you just go overseas, you become fluent without putting any effort, which is incorrect. If you go to Japan, I'm sure you're going to be fluent in a short amount of time. That's because you had a basic. You've been studying Japanese by yourself for many years, and you actually passed N2, which is quite hard. So unless you have solid basic structure, basic knowledge, it's not gonna add up. You can't make most of it. That's my opinion. I just wanted to warn people who think it's gonna be easy, because you actually made a lot of effort, and so did I. So I don't want people who watch our video misunderstand that, maybe if I go England, I'm gonna be fluent. That's not correct, is it? No.
Whereas with you, I mean, you were brave enough to tap me on the shoulder and make conversation with me. So,
I like that.
Well, it does apply. So,
Yeah.
You had the right attitude, the right mindset. and you actually actively tried to practice your English with a native speaker. So I see what you mean.
So in a way, if you add some explanation like that, I'd say it definitely helps me to improve my language, because like when I was in the UK, obviously most people speak English. Whereas if I just stayed in Japan, there are some people fluent in English, even if they haven't been abroad overseas like you. Like you can understand and you can write Japanese, although you have never traveled to Japan.
Yeah.
But that's an exception.
It's definitely an exception.
Yeah. So when I met you first time in Primus, I probably asked you the same question, but are you planning to go on to Japan someday? Like for long term or just traveling?
Well, definitely someday. Absolutely someday.
Not now.
I mean, for me, all I can say is, who knows what's going to happen to any of us. And I might end up, staying for a bit longer later on. I don't know. I'm happy.
I would say everyone has different time frames of life. So you want to go to Japan when you're mentally, physically prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe not now, but someday, definitely.
Someday. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. After all these COVID things cool down.
Yeah. Yes. After that. Whenever that will be.
Whenever that will be, who knows? So this is gonna be my last question.
Okay.
So which is so as you know, learning language requires constancy and persistence.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes really hard to keep it going.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you this question. How did you motivate yourself if there was a time you struggled with improvement?
Mm-hmm. I think it was always to have some sort of goal in mind. For years, it's just been fluency has been my goal. I wouldn't say I'm there yet at all, but I'm guessing. I wouldn't say I'm fluent just yet, but I'm getting closer to it. But a good way to test your knowledge with languages is to take qualifications, take exams and things like that. In Japan, the big exam is called the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, the JLPT. Which in Japanese is the Nihongo no Ryoku Shiken.
Nihongo no Ryoku Shiken, yes.
That's right. So it's a big exam that's taken all over the world. And there are 5 levels, so there's...
Yeah, so he's going to explain. Oh, wow. Good presentation. Analog presentation, I like it.
So there are 5 levels in the JLPT. So there's N1 all the way down to N5. N5 is level, Shokyu, Rebelu. And then N1 is advanced level, Jokyu.
So N3 is just in the middle, intermediate.
Yes, exactly. So I took this one, the one in the middle, in I think it was 2010.
Wow!
And then obviously I went to university, so I had to stop Japanese for a little bit.
Just to clarify, just be on the same page. You were saying that you passed N3 before you went to uni.
Yes.
Wow! Well done.
Oh, thank you. But really, I think what's N2 is probably the one that sticks in my mind because I only took N2 last year in December.
Right? So, yeah.
Yes, and as I say, it gets harder. It gets more difficult as you go up.
Wow. Thanks for that. That's really helpful.
That's all right. Yeah. I mean, they test all sorts of things, mostly listening and reading and grammar and vocabulary. So they do test a lot of things.
I have a question about Nihongo no Ryoku Shikente. So do they measure your speaking and writing as well, or just listening and reading?
This is the thing. They don't test your speaking. So
what about writing?
Writing. Yeah, writing as well. And that's another thing. I think it's because, it tests your understanding, I think that's what it's trying to test. It's not testing. It doesn't test your ability to produce language, to create language. So
I see.
You see what I mean? But it does test.
So in a way, it's the same as TOEIC, if you know.
Yes, very similar. That's right. Every year, there are hundreds of thousands of people who take the exam.
Wow.
So, it has to be efficient. And
it has to be efficient.
They need to be able to mark it very, very quickly.
Yeah, whereas IELTS, which is another English test, where they can measure 4 different skills, but IELTS is different because it's English, and there are so many English examiners who can test speaking and writing. With Japanese, not as popular as English.
The JLPT, it still tests your understanding. So you still need to know your Japanese in order to pass it.
And also, based on what I heard about 日本語能力試験, N5, N4, like beginner and lower intermediate, it's relatively easy. But after N3, there's a big gap in between each level. Is that true?
Yes. What's quite funny is the gap in difficulty sort of increases. So the difference between N5 and N4 is smaller than the difference between N4 and N3. And then it gets bigger, more and more difficult. And I do want to take the N1, but the jump between here and there is enormous. There are so many words to learn.
That's so funny because there was one time I had a chance to look at the textbook, like the past exam paper of N1. There was like, who used this in daily life? Even for Japanese native speakers, like, what's the point knowing this?
Exactly. A lot of things in the N1 level, they are archaic, they are classical. They're found in.
They're classical.
They're found in ancient Japanese texts, and they're not used these days. So
maybe like me, like learning Shakespeare's plot.
It's like that. So
something like that probably.
You don't need to know. You certainly don't need to know it in order to, go to Japan. N1 is not necessary.
Personally, I think if you passed N2, that's more than enough.
Yeah, well, hopefully. But I suppose for me, as I say, having some end goal in mind. If I just say, well,
that's the important thing.
Maybe one day, I would like to take N1, see how well I do. But it's not necessary.
Not necessarily, but keeps motivated, and it's going to be the milestone of your studies.
Exactly. I did the N2 in Cardiff last year in December. Well, no, it's just because in the UK they only have the exam in London or Cardiff.
That's interesting.
I know. But they don't offer it in Manchester. But it was worth it. Cardiff. Unless you've been already, Cardiff is a very, very beautiful city. It's lovely.
I've been in Cardiff one time to see Spice Girls live show.
Oh, did you go to Cardiff to see them?
Yeah.
But it was in December and it was absolutely freezing. But it was so cold. It was worth it.
So I want to know more about like your exam preparation.